It's recording. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tech and Soul. I'm Tamika Key.
And I am Lyndee Johnson.
And we are navigating digital dimensions today. So, first, we're going to take a quick moment of silence for, I think we decided to not cover this topic because we weren't sort of in a space to cover it, but I do think we should take a moment of silence for the conflict currently happening in Israel and Gaza, just acknowledging it's fucked up in a lot of ways. Maybe we will address it on another episode, but not today. But didn't want to pretend like everything's all good.
It is not. So, like you said, let's take that moment of silence.
And so this is going to seem a little flippant, but it's not. There's other people who would take moments of silence because of what just got announced, and that is that Beyonce is launching a movie for her Renaissance tour. I know that was, like I said, it seemed a little flippant. It was not. Some people would actually take a moment of silence. The Beyhive.
The Beyhive would take a moment of silence, but that transition was
not good.
Chef's kiss, not good, but chef's kiss at the same time.
You know what I mean? So it's funny. I am not a Bey stan. I love Beyonce for the spectacle. I love her for the showmanship. I've actually never been to a Beyonce concert. I know probably a Beyhive is going to kill me. And I loved that over the course of the Renaissance tour, which was this whole summer, right? I mean, there were Black women, there were white women, there were young women, there were old women, and people were getting dressed up to go. And I was like, wow, I had maybe one brief moment of FOMO where I was like, wow, I wish I could have been to this. And then I was like, no, actually, I have no interest. But go ahead.
No, it wasn't just getting dressed up. It was like the whole futuristic look, right? Like it was like, I don't know, interplanetary something, right? Afrofuturism for sure, no doubt. And I was definitely feeling that. I did not check out Renaissance Tour. Those tickets bleed a pocket, even the pocket of people who make good money, right? But I have been to a Beyonce concert before in my life. Yes, I have. And the album was, homage to the kids, as we call them, right? And loved it for that. A lot of people, as usual, the haters said she's ripping off the culture. That's a whole other topic. Right. I mean, she has always catered to the culture, I feel. The LGBTQ culture. She's always catered to it.
I mean, Beyonce is also camp, right? Is she not like, oh my God, I'm gonna, again, the Beyhive will come for me. I mean, she's sometimes borderline drag queen, right? Like she gives in that way.
Aesthetic. Yes.
So you went to Renaissance.
I did not go to Renaissance. No, I wish I did. I went to concerts years ago. Right? Yeah. Yeah, I did not go to Renaissance, but the announcement.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean,
that's the thing, right? It's like, I had a little bit of FOMO when I was like, oh man, I didn't get to go to have this experience. And then I feel like it was like over the weekend, I saw on IG this whole thing and I was like, oh, this is why she wanted no photos. She wanted nobody to take videos. This is why she was like, no, I'm going to try to, in an age of everybody holding up their phone and watching the artist through this small screen when the artist is in front of them, she tried as hard as she could to sort of contain that so that the finished package could be shared in cinematic form. That's one thing I think Beyonce and her team have done pretty well for years is control the narrative and control the media around her experiences. Like we didn't see, I mean, I saw bits and pieces of the concert. Like I knew kind of she rides on the horse. I saw there was a moment when Diana Ross came, and
for her birthday. Yeah.
For her birthday, right? But like, I'm gonna go. So it was never going to a Renaissance concert was never a yes for me. going to the Renaissance movie was an instant yes for me. And that's
That's interesting.
right.
Go ahead, keep going. That's interesting because, back in what was that, 2018,
Mm-hmm.
she had Homecoming,
Right.
right? And that was homage to HBCUs,
Yep.
right? Um, and so she's kind of done this thing before. I think why it's even bigger now, and of course we knew she was going to announce it. She was not going to just let Taylor have it. It's like, wait a minute, I'm gonna let you finish, but
But
right, as she was giving that, right? But here's my show, my movie. Um, the 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 thing you said you only saw bits and pieces. The thing that was the thing this time was her child, Blue Ivy.
yeah, Blue. Mm-hmm.
Blue was the thing. Like everywhere you went on social media
Yep.
were snippets and shorts of Blue.
Yep.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Blue is not a producer on this film. I haven't looked it up yet, but I wouldn't be surprised.
It's so interesting that you say that. Also, I think I saw snippets of her other two children in the video as well. And so it's this very curated, Beyonce and her team have always had a command of media and a curated
Agreed.
understanding of what to drop on which platforms and when, which kind of is the segue into kind of the tech and soul piece. If you think about this from an artist or creator standpoint, there's an unprecedented opportunity now to do a 360 deal with yourself. Now, everybody's not Beyonce. You still have to have distribution partners and all of those things. But if you wanted to, and I think Issa Rae is also an example of this. If you wanted to, you could drop a video, you could drop an album on SoundCloud or Bandcamp and let people buy it. You could sell tickets to your show on Bandcamp, right? Drop an album on Bandcamp and SoundCloud. Do a live stream on Instagram, crowdfund a behind the scenes video, and then have people pay you to watch sort of your tour in the making.
And there some of these lesser known artists who have like just these fanatic fans or followers. I see some of them on Instagram who I've followed. Young kids, they have merch. They have their own merch, and people are buying it like crazy. Like there are these two brothers. I forgot where they're from exactly, but their names are Ao and Teo, and they had the song "I Just Wanna Rolly Rolly Rolly." Sound terrible. Anyway, with the dabber inch. Anyway, doing the whole dance. That song was big with kids everywhere a couple of years ago, right? But Ao and Teo took that. They it's like what Soldier Boy did years ago with social media. They've taken it a step further and are using social media. I think the last time I looked, they were in Taiwan or Vietnam or someplace like that touring, right? We don't hear much about them in America as they're not like mainstream artists that are on the radio, but even because like kids are dancing to the song on TikTok, they end up back on the Billboard chart, right? They have their own home studio where they're producing their own music, right? They're distributing it where it's, ending up on, like you said, Tidal, Spotify, iHeart, Apple Music, it's everywhere, right? And then they're creating their own videos as well. And controlling. So I think they're learning from these. Taylor and Beyonce do it big, right? But they're doing it in a way that is just enough for them to own a home, drive a Tesla, wear Gucci shoes, whatever, whatever it is.
Right.
They're doing just enough on their own that like a label does not have a piece of them.
I'm so glad that you said that, because that was going to be my question. What is the role of a record label in this new digital kind of this digital first music sphere, in that unless you want to achieve Taylor Swift status, right? Unless you want to be, I was thinking about there's a young lady, Olivia Rodrigo. She's interesting,
Yes.
right? Unless you want to be sort of icon status, do you need a label? as a creator, you know, do you need representation? What does the music, what does a record label what does the music label sort of provide? And I think maybe it might be interesting, one of our future episodes, guys, we're going to start having guests, I think, but one of the future episodes might be interesting to talk to. There was the guy that I think I mentioned that I met from United Masters, which is like United's kind of, I think, indie division, but like what role do they play? And like where and how do they fit into something like this? Because let's go back to so we talked about this from the creator standpoint. Let's go back to the entrepreneur standpoint. If if I'm an artist, why do I need to give anybody a percentage of anything? If, what are they giving me in exchange for the percentage that they're getting?
They can get you the Pepsi commercial.
Right.
They can get you the walk in the Louis Vuitton fashion show. They can get you, you know what I mean? Like, it's to, what's Rihanna's boo's name? A$AP Rocky. It's to a point that A$AP, I said A$AP, oh Lord.
Like A$AP.
Yeah, I'm like A$AP's fables. I'm like showing my auntie status for real. But but it's to the point that, right, he's more well known as a model now than even as a musician, right?
And
a
also
model and an actor, an actor, and Rihanna's baby daddy, right? So although he likely, you talk about this, he has that whole A$AP crew,
yeah,
is under him, right? So any of them come out with records, they're under him, or the whole crew. It's kind of like, not to mention her husband. It's kind of like Jay-Z did with Rockefeller back in the days, right?
But I think it's, so it's interesting because there's record labels, but then there are also these creator representation firms now and creator talent agencies that offer similar capabilities. They give you some distro, they connect you to brands. I guess, I think the question is becoming, right? If you want to do a 360 deal, if you want to, which probably I'm dating myself even saying that, right? But if you want to have a multi-platform artist experience, it seems like artists have more options to partner with others than they did in the past, and artists can pick and choose. But then maybe, I guess one question would be, what's our advertising and publishing angle for this? What's the ad tech or media?
You don't want to know the ad tech angle.
Yeah, tell me. I want to know.
It's a conversation a lot of people are having. So we're talking about cutting out middlemen, basically, right? A lot of people are saying if SSPs don't differentiate themselves in the ad tech ecosystem, publishers are going to start going directly to DSPs. So that, for me, that's a cutting out the middleman angle. But how can an indie publisher, how can an indie publisher get advertising, get distribution, especially when social media is so effed up right now, right? I mean, I want to hear your thoughts. If you were advising me, I just started a little media
company. You started a media company. Is that what you did?
I started a little media company, and I come to you and I'm like, hey, I want my content everywhere, and I want to be able to do events, and I want to be able to do merch. How do I go about this? Because I'm looking at this from like how Blavity. I'm not going to say anymore. I'll let you go. Go ahead.
Oh man. So that's a good question. I think I want to address your first sort of segue into this, and that is that publishers are thinking they will go to DSPs directly. So that's not, I don't think that that's it doesn't surprise me that that is part of the conversation, because SSPs do need to differentiate. But when you think about the fact that a DSP is a buy-side platform, the DSP is designed to extract as much possible value from that inventory as possible for the buyer at the lowest possible price. Theoretically, an SSP is supposed to help publishers get a slightly better price for
Get the
them.
better price. Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like, and again, from what I've heard, Trade Desk squeezes little indie publishers is like trying to squeeze blood out of a stone with them. And so I don't see how going to a platform that is designed to extract maximum value from your inventory is going to be a better solution than working with a platform that is designed to meet your needs theoretically and have those two talk. So I would say that I do think there's something to be said for what have you done for me lately? What is your SSP doing for you? Are they introducing you to new demand? Are they helping you understand how things are changing? Are they, are they providing value in the ways that you need them to provide value? If not, then I'd say find a different SSP. I wouldn't say try to go directly to, because the DSP has no incentive to benefit a publisher.
Okay, so let me give you an example, but I think this is more about direct, right? Yahoo cut off the SSP, went all DSP. One of the things they are offering, and I guess it is a direct program, but they are offering Yahoo as well as other premium publishers, right? Direct to the
So they're an ad
advertiser.
network.
Basically.
Like,
just say what you are. If you're an ad network, just
we
say you're an
are.
ad network,
I actually
right?
really like Yahoo. Sorry to interrupt you. I actually really like Yahoo. I think that Yahoo is not a typical publisher in that Yahoo still has. I was actually talking with my colleague about this today. Yahoo has its old publisher roots, but Yahoo also has some of the tech in-house still from the various acquisitions that I don't think a smaller traditional publisher that you're talking about is going to have. So
Right, no doubt. So now back to the smaller publisher conversation. Does the smaller publisher, is their creative resource, is it Raptive, formerly Cafe Media? Is it
rebranded? Okay.
Yeah. Is it Group Black? If you know, is it is it I'm gonna ignore that. I'm gonna ignore that one. Is it what's the other one? There's one that begins with an M. They have like a lot of cooking blogs and stuff like
Mediavine?
that. Mediavine. Is it Mediavine? Is it Raptive / Cafe Media? Is that their play into getting some
Coin.
real bank, some real coin, right?
That's actually a really good question. I mean, I think that so now we've got publisher and / entrepreneur hat on, right? I think that it depends on what the goals are of the business. I was at a conference last week, and there was a TV, ad industry conference, and it was so interesting. In the beginning of the conference, people were, it was all the networks, and they were talking about how amazing things were and like all of their beautiful content, and it was awesome. And at the end of the conference, there was a panel, and it had like a Wall Street analyst who was basically like, none of this shit is happening. I don't care. People are getting bought. People are getting sold. Y'all can't handle it. And it was just a dramatic contrast. What the point of that is, I think that the days of massive growth, like the days of a BuzzFeed, the days of oh my God, I'm going to reach, hundreds of millions of uniques super quickly and transact based on that. I think those days are kind of done because of audience segmentation and fragmentation and all the platforms. And so I think it's, if the publisher's goal is to make, this actually comes back to what you said in the beginning. If the publisher's goal is to be Beyonce and Taylor Swift, I actually don't know what to tell them. Take some VC money, get yourself, grow at a hyper ridiculous rate, and then eventually get sold off for parts, AKA Vice Media and my other favorite, Complex, right? Um, but I think there's something to be said for sustainable growth. I think there's something to be said for figuring out who your audience is and creating content, merch, and experiences that speak to your audience so that you can form a business that allows you to buy some Gucci sneakers, buy a Tesla, and buy a house, as opposed to fly around the world in a private jet, right? Like I don't know if that if that answered
I
your.
don't get a G6. I don't get a G6. I just get a Tesla.
We're so, oh my God, we are so great. I like it. But I mean, again, I don't know. What do you think? You are much more plugged into kind of the publisher world than I am, admittedly, anymore. What do you think? Are the days of turbocharged Taylor Swift level growth over?
No, I don't. I don't think it's over because when you have a company like the Arena Group
Mm.
or like who's another one like them? Oh, Dot Dash Murders,
Yeah.
right? Right? These M&As are going to continue to happen, and then they're going to gobble up these smaller publishers,
Okay.
right? And then they'll have all these verticals,
Okay.
right? So that to your other point, the indie publisher can hope to get gobbled up, right? And become, like you said sold off. But there's also it's not venture funding. What's the funding that's going into a lot of these publishers now? Can't think of the name of it right now. Is hedge fund? No, it's not a hedge
Yeah,
fund.
like
What is
PE, private equity.
yes, private equity. That's the
Yeah,
yeah,
but
I know it's not good for publishers, but
no,
there are
no.
small publishers going that route, right? And that's especially some of these like locals, right? Local publishers, right? Who are hoping to be parts of changing. You know how they used to be back in New York, like there was New York Press and there was Village Voice and there were all of these. So nowadays, what's happening is some kind of private equity company will own a string of these in various cities and like streamline them and make them all operate the same way and right because it's all about cutting costs.
Yeah, because
um
well, I actually learned what a PE firm does, right? Like they buy distressed assets or they buy these platforms, streamline them so that they are operating effectively so that they can sell them, right? Like they're
Again,
not, it's not
yes.
to be in the business for the long haul.
Yep.
Um, you know, I think the last lens, which I think there's a full circle ability to tie this conversation together though, because I think the question is, what is the publisher's goal, or what is the what
Music
is the
artist.
publisher's goal, or what is the creator's goal? If Because I think you can also look at Taylor Swift, who had to renegotiate. I think she had to reissue a bunch of her work because she didn't own her masters, or she didn't own her, right? And so it's like, what are these deals that you are signing up for as a publisher, as an artist? And again, what's the goal? If you want growth quickly and you want money up front, that's a thing. But then what happens longer term? Are you building something that can continue to pay you over time? Or are you building something that gives you that flash in the pan?
Right. Well, I mean, that is the thing, right? Uh, Beyonce's been building this brand since the Beyonce brand itself since the early 2000s, right? When did Taylor come out? Was she
2000,
early 2000s too? Yeah, early aughts, right? They're both early aughts. So, oh, you don't like aughts? You don't like when people say
It's
aughts?
fine. I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean? But that's separate.
That's what all the music writers
I
used
know
to
they
say,
do
right?
aughts, the early aughts. Like, what the fuck? Anyway,
Anyway, I used to be part of that camp, so you have to excuse me. But yeah, they've been building these brands for so long, like just right. But do they own the full brand?
and
That's
I
the
think
question at the end of the day.
in the case of or they're now at a point where they are starting to own the full brand. And again, I think to tie this back to the publisher piece and or the media owner is, what do you own of your empire? Like what you can build on these platforms, right? As people are saying, you build this audience on Instagram. there's a really interesting blog called The Tilt. It's written by Joe Polizzi, who sold Content Marketing Institute to another company. And so it's all about the creator economy. And it's one of those things where he talks about, he's like, this is rented land. Put your Instagram audience, but as soon as you can get their email address, as soon as you can put them into your platform, as soon as you can get them to a place that is not owned by the walled gardens, you're going to be better. And that's kind of the same thing that goes with like a music artist. Actually, I just found out that Bandcamp was owned by Epic. And Epic is actually, yeah, I don't remember when they bought them, which was a whole thing. Maybe that's for next week or next episode. And they laid off like half of the staff because, you know, Epic is having a bunch of financial issues right now. But yeah, Bandcamp was owned by Epic, which was a thing. Last hat that we have not discussed is Black Woman Hat. What do you think about the new Renaissance movie from a Black woman standpoint? Like, how does it make you feel? What's your, you know, I have to say, I don't, and it is ridiculous. I was watching this little video of the thing, and I was getting emotional. I was like, oh my God, this is like all these Black women together, and people just the closest thing I could say I felt was as a kid watching the Moonwalker movie and seeing how people were reacting to Michael Jackson, and it would make me feel some kind of weird way. Watching the trailer for this Renaissance concert movie and seeing how people were reacting to Beyonce, and sort of, I was getting a little verklempt. And like, I don't know how that works, but I was.
As soon as you said you were feeling, I was going to be like, were you verklempt?
I was verklempt. Right? Like, and so how does that's the thing, you know?
Well, I mean, it is a thing. And I think, I mean, the same way people went dressed out to the concert, they're going to go dressed up to the movies. It's going to be like Black Panther all over again, right? Another dose of Afrofuturism for you. Another dose, sorry. But I mean, yeah, I'll check it out. Usually I wait till things are on, you know, something I can watch at home, but I'll go and brave the crowds for Beyonce. I mean, I love the album. There are people who have dissed the album, of course, but I love the album. The album is very well because they dissed it because they tried to say she didn't give credit to the people but she did. If you look at every song, it has like 20 names on it. That's how much she gave credit to everyone. But as a Black woman, yeah, I'm excited. And I am also, I hate that people also diss it. Like, oh, she makes all this money and she doesn't do any. She does a lot for communities and for funds. And like don't ask me to quote what's the name of all of them right now. I should have looked them up before we got in here. But I know she has various projects and various things she contributes to. So she does share the wealth. And I mean, I think a lot, she and Jay-Z, I'm going to bring them both back together. They try to school people on how you can get like them, right? I feel like they do. They're not just trying to hold all the dough for themselves. They want to see Black folks come up. That's what I think. That's what I feel from the messages they put out there.
That's a whole other, conversation. I feel like this is a perfect place to end. We started with Afrofuturism, ended with Afrofuturism. Guys, speaking of Afrofuturism and supporting small publishers and small media owners, hit a subscribe below. Subscribe to our podcast so you can get us in your inbox directly. And we'll continue the dialogue, and then we'll keep you posted for when we do our first in-person Tech and Soul event, right?
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Till
All
next
right. Out.